All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. This is going to be a lesson talking about a particular thing that I saw a guy that is intelligent when it comes to things regarding war, but he said pretty much that every single Edomite, but he never said it in these words, he used these earthly terminologies, man. But he said every single Edomite should pretty much walk out for a day on April the 5th, right? Everyone should just walk out and stop, not do their jobs and all of this, and just leave the world to itself and to its own devices, right? But the guy himself is, I believe, from Chile, right? And he's saying this, and it just proves that what a lot of us brothers from the Southern Kingdom know about you Northern Kingdom Latino brothers, man, that a lot of you, right, think that you're Edomites. A lot of you think that you're grouped in and the think that you're accepted by that group of people. You're only accepted as long as the Southern Kingdom or the Negro tribes still exist, man. But if they was able to get rid of every single one of us, then the next person that they're going to aim their attention at is towards all of you. And just the fact that this guy said this shows that the curses are working, man, because he felt the need, even though he's not part of those people, from what I believe anyway, he felt the need to stir up himself and try and tell them to say all these things, and was complaining about how even their own selves are complaining about themselves, man. And that just shows that they're under the curse. They're starting to slowly be under the curses, man. The curses are starting to remove from us and go on to them. And if you want to know what curses I'm talking about, read Deuteronomy the 20th chapter and you will see what curses I'm talking about. And read from the 15th verse down to the 68th verse. Because Esau is going to experience every single one of those curses that the Israelites experienced. But they're going to receive them as a punishment for what they did to the Israelites, man. And they ain't going to be alone in that, because every other nation that's not Israelites are going to experience it too. Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 7. And Yahweh thy power put all these curses upon thine enemies and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. So it's actually a sickening joke when people that went around the world killing people, stealing from people, right? And the effects from those thefts, the profit is still seen from the things that they did 400 plus years ago. So of course the damage is still going to be seen also, because the people that they killed and murdered, the descendants of those people, now don't have a country, now don't have a land, now don't have a place where they can say, okay, we agree that we don't like living the same way as you, and you agree that you don't like living the same way as us, so we'll go back to the land that we was taken from and stolen from. Then we'll go back there, right? Just, but they don't say that. They said, nah, you weren't never nothing. They've lied. But then now that they're starting to catch hell and they're realizing that they ain't in the mix of the people that stole this world, they're not being considered as that part of that elite class. Now all of a sudden it's a complaint now. Now all of a sudden everyone should be equal. But when they was able to get beneficial rights based off them being considered a certain way, they didn't want to say, nah, I'm not going to accept that. So just like how you benefited off the slave trade, now you're going to have to get punished for the slave trade. Simple as that, man. And anybody that wants to be joined onto and wants to be an honorary Esau, well, they can be on it too, man, and they can get the same thing as what Esau's gonna get and end up having to repent in the kingdom, man. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which are commanded this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Now let's go into one of the curses that these people are starting to really experience, and that's the reason why this guy said this statement, even though he's not really one of them, right? But all on the comment board, you've got people either saying they deserve to be feeling like this, or you've got people saying, yeah, the world wouldn't be able to handle us not being around, which is not true, because Yahweh's getting ready to make every single one of them Edomites not exist, and the world's going to be a better place for that. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 54, so that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil towards his brother and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards a remnant of his children, which he shall leave. And what the guy said when he was making his statement on how every single Esau should just not do any work or any labor on April the 5th. He was saying that one of the things that disgusted him was that he even saw their own people, the men from the nation and the women from the nation, being against themselves. That's the curses. They're starting to become cursed, man, like how we was. And it always happens slowly and gradually. It happens slowly and gradually for us. First Solomon fell, then worse kings off than him rose up, right? In fact, let's go before that. First we had King David, right? But before that we had Saul. But then we had King David, and he established the kingdom. So when his son came, it was easier for him to build up a righteous kingdom because he didn't have to worry about subjecting all the other nations. But then he fell for copying what his wives did. Following after their gods, the gods of his heathen wives or concubines, right? Then his son came, and his son was foolish, and then he fell. So then the kingdom got split, and then gradually the kingdoms that were split, doing their own thing, they started sinning gradually, and showing hatred towards brother. They started feeling the curses, man, and it was feeling the curses even back when King David's sons was coming up against him. That was part of the curses. Brother against brother, father against son. Deuteronomy 28:54. That was part of the curses, man. The men being against the men of their nation. Verse 55, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children, whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left in him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in all thy gates. And that's what's getting ready to happen. And the thing that's funny about what this guy's complaining about is that his whole channel, right? His whole channel, he's talking about what Esau's doing. His channel actually makes us realize even more in depth how wicked this nation of people is, right? And it's that, just to pull it out there, man, it's that Gonzalo Lira. That's who I'm talking about when I'm saying this stuff. And he's an Israelite, if I'm not mistaken, man. Whether he knows he is or not, whether he believes in God or not, that's a whole nother story. But I believe that guy is an Israelite. And if he's not, well, then that explains why he's saying all these things that he's saying and complaining about this stuff, right? But his channel, as it stands right now, is pretty much covering all the things that's happening between Russia and Ukraine and showing that they're wicked, showing that they backstab even each other, never mind everybody else, showing that just among themselves they can't deal fairly. That's why Russia and NATO and all of this stuff, they're doing these things toward each other. So his own channel exposes that they're wicked, shows that they damaged pipelines and all of this. So how is he then going to say that why are people mad at them when his channel shows what wickedness they're doing? His own channel shows it, man. His own channel is making it even more concrete why Obadiah, the first chapter, needs to be fulfilled, because they can't do righteously, man. They don't do the right thing, these people, man. They just don't. They shut down the whole world, told people to take things. Nobody still knows really what that was that they took, man. They don't know. They don't know, man. Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, who would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter. And that whole Planned Parenthood stuff that they originally started, right? That was to try and destroy us, the Israelites, the Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, right? But now you're starting to see that it's mainly, if I'm not mistaken, it's mainly the people that invented it's women that are taking place in that, man. Or it's a close second towards our women, the Israelite woman, Negro, Latino, and Native American women. It's a close second, man. So it's damaged themselves. But their plan was to damage us when you realize how that took place. But has he got anything to say about that? This guy that said that everyone should walk out. Like, you can't try and say that these people are good when their foundation of their riches came from killing us. So we ain't never going to accept that they're good people, man. Because the foundation of what they've made came at the cost of our ancestors' lives, man. And you can't try and tell me oh, it wasn't you. Because reincarnation exists. But even if reincarnation didn't exist, who the hell does somebody think they are to try and say that we can't be upset that our ancestors were killed? And that we're now looking at the descendants of those people in our face, telling us to get over it. But when Esau has anything happen to him, he don't get over it. He don't get over it when something happens to him. The nerve, man. The nerve of Esau, man. And this guy, I don't even believe that he's an Edomite, but he's talking like one, though. He's talking like one. And all the people on the comment board, they were. And they're complaining and whinging and moaning. They talk about how everybody else is complaining, how everybody else is didn't do nothings, how everybody else is talking about they was Kangs and all that. But Esau's the main one thinking that he was Kangs. Any movie in history, he's them. He's everyone. He's the Japanese samurai. He's the ancient Egyptians, not the Egyptians from the Grecian period, from the Maccabees. He ain't just saying he's those ones. He's saying he's the ones during the time of Moses too. He ain't saying he's a Greek that took over Egypt, just that. He's saying, no, I'm the Hamites too. That's what he's saying. Then he's the Israelites as well. You know? Then he's Michael Jackson. He's everyone. Apart from Esau. Ecclesiasticus chapter 41 and verse 7. The children will complain of an ungodly father because they should be reproached for his sake. So they don't ever feel like they shouldn't take credit for what Edomites that ain't them did when it comes to something that they've did that's considered positive, right? Or we made technologies, blah, blah, we made this, we made that, or we made the internet and all this. But when you really research a lot of these things, you come to find out that a lot of Israelites was in that, man. And the whole of America would crumble if they didn't have the Latinos over there, which are Israelites. And it's to the point where they even made a movie about that, right? Called A Day Without a Mexican. They made a mocking movie about that, showing that the whole thing would crumble if they didn't have Mexicans. And then they also made another one showing how the world would crumble if they didn't have Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans there in that episode of Cosmic Slop, the Space Invaders, where they said that certain people of a certain skin tone will trade you them, and we'll give you a certain amount of money or whatever, or we'll give you some of our technologies. And they started reviewing it, and it was like, nah, but this thing would go down, and this thing would go down. So for all the talk of trying to make it like Esau's just did things by himself, is bullshit, man. Let's be real about it. And all these Edomites complaining about how they're being hated now. Well, didn't you used to hate everybody? And don't you still hate everybody? Don't, when I go on a comment board regarding anybody committing a crime that skins brown, right, of whatever shade of brown, don't I see people talking racist on there? Don't I see that? And these will be the same people that will be on another comment board on a different account talking something else again. Ecclesiasticus chapter 41 and verse 7. The children will complain of an ungodly father because they shall be reproached for his sake. Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High. For if ye increase, it shall be to your destruction. So they've increased in wealth, right? But so what? That increase was just for their destruction, man. So that Yahweh can build them up. So that when he breaks them, when they've reached their final form, he can show just how strong he is, man. And that's like an example of that in an earthly term would be, okay, there's a guy that you've heard don't like you, right? And you pay for his gym membership, right? You pay for his gym membership. You pay for him to do anything necessary for him to train to be able to try and fight you, right? You get him a boxing coach, you get him a kickboxing coach, right? And then you find out that now his boxing skills ain't that good, so you give him more time to train. And you even increase and get him a better boxing coach than that. You pay for his fights. You give him a wage. You make him really get trained up, man. Right? You make him have access to even cheat, to use performance-enhancing drugs. You build him up. Make him prepared to the most ways he's strongest to prepare to fight you. And then you get in the ring with him and dust him off one round, man. First punch. That's what Yahweh's doing spiritually to these Edomites. He's built them up, man. And if you think I'm chatting smack, yeah. If you think, man, this guy is just running his mouth, let's prove it. Well, I'm going to prove it right now. Romans chapter 9 and verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. What shall we say then? Is there unrighteousness with Yahweh? Yahweh forbid. For he saith to Moses, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy, and I will have compassion on whom I will have compassion. So then it is not of him that willeth, nor of him that runneth, but of Yahweh that showeth mercy. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. And that's a quote. I should have it highlighted. That's a quote from Exodus chapter 9 and verse 16. And in very deed for this cause have I raised thee up, for to show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. And that's what Yahweh did to the ancient Pharaoh. But the modern Pharaoh is the Edomites, man. And they're the modern Egypt, right? The modern Egypt spiritually, in the spiritual sense, the place that Yahweh is looking at with the same disgust that he looked at as ancient Egypt, that new place is America, which is also Babylon the Great, which is also spiritually called Sodom too, because of the way our people live there, right? Romans chapter 9 and verse 17. For the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for the same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Therefore he have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will. He hardeneth, and he's hardening the Edomites. He's making them build up as much strength as they think they can have, right? He's giving them bogged out philosophies, but where they think if they can contrast every single opposite in the world, right? If they can turn everything upside down, if they can make night dark, light dark, light, if they can just change every single opposite, that the whole universe will crumble, and we'll see, and they'll be able to see what the world's really about. Yahweh's bugged these people out, man. He's made them really think that there's a God higher than him. He's made them think that there's some kind of power source that they can escape out of his realm. He's bugged them out to think that if that even exists as a thing, which it don't, because Yahweh made everything. But Yahweh's made them think that there's alternative routes and alternative methods outside of him, and he's used his spirits that are evil. He's used those to confound these people, man. And anybody that thinks that Yahweh don't do that, will just look and see what he did to Pharaoh. He hardened his heart several times. Several times he hardened his heart. Pharaoh was probably thinking, man, I'm just going to let them go. Nah, Yahweh had other plans. I'm hardening your heart. You ain't letting them go nowhere, because I need to build you up so that I can destroy you, to show how strong I am. And that's the same thing with Esau. They always consider, you know what, maybe we'll give a reparations. Maybe we'll give him a reparation. And then Yahweh says, nah, you ain't giving him nothing. You ain't repairing nothing. You're going to be staying beyond that racist, demonic spirit that I gave you. You ain't going to be giving them no repairing or nothing, man. You're going to be worse. You're going to put your foot even further up their ass, kicking their ass, man. That's what Yahweh did to them. So that they have to get the destruction that is waiting for them, man. Yahweh wants them to get it. Yahweh wants to fulfill Obadiah's prophecy in the 1st chapter and the 18th verse. He wants that to be fulfilled, man. So therefore they have to be pushed and prompted into that destruction, and they can't do nothing about it, man. They're naturally wicked. And that's why they're complaining about people hating them for being hateful. They're complaining about people not liking them when they don't like anyone. They're complaining about people pointing out things that Dave did. They're complaining about people talking about doing the same things to them that they did to their ancestors, or that they did to their lands. And then when you see the hypocrisy and you see how they're killing their own selves, but then they're going to talk about some guys in the hood killing each other, when hundreds of thousands of people have already died, according to what this guy said. Thousands of people, let me just say thousands of people have died in this Russian-Ukraine war. That's more than died in that whole Chirac stuff, isn't it? So what about the Edomite and Edomite crime? Or is it okay when they do it? Because they're pale enough to where you don't say nothing about them. The hypocrisy is on display every day, man. And a guy from Chile, right, that calls himself a Hispanic, shouldn't be trying to talk and be trying to
Act like he's an Edomite when they don't see you like that way, man. They don't rate you like that, man. Fix up, man. They don't accept you in their group like that. Apart from if they can make some money from you. Outside of that, they ain't rocking with you like that, man. And they'd show you if they was able to get rid of the dark-skinned people from your same nation, man, that you don't even know is your nation. They'd show you real quick. And already have shown you. Verse 18. Therefore he have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth. Thou will say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who have resisted his will? And that's what some people say. Well, if God's made everybody be like this, then how can he destroy them? Because he made them and he can do what he wants. That's how. Verse 20. Neighbor, old man, who art thou that replies against Yahweh? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why hast thou made me thus? Don't try and complain now, Esau, now that the latter end of it's taking place. Right? Because what did, you know what? Let me show it, man. Let me show it. Let's read it. Yeah. Deuteronomy chapter 20, Deuteronomy chapter 32. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 26. I said I would scatter them into the corners. I'd make the remembrance of them to cease from among men, which partly that happened to us as Israelites, man. Verse 27. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest their adversaries should behave themselves strangely, and lest they should say, our hand is high, and Yahweh have not done all this, right? Because that's what the Edomites think. They don't think that we fell as a nation. Because Yahweh punished us for sinning against him. They think that they took us down, and they think that they've actually civilized the world. Yet the world ain't civilized. All the slave, let's put it into perspective, man. Right? Let's take it there, man. Let's take it there. All the slavery that they put the Israelites through, right? All the destroying of the Native American Indians, which is the tribe of Gad, all the destroying of the tribe of Issachar, all the racism, all the things that they've did has led to this world, right, being formed where men and women don't even know what a man and a woman is. That's the society that's been made. All the things that we went through, or all the things our ancestors went through, right, has been done so that they can form a world where people don't know how many genders there are. But they ain't wicked. But all the things that they've did has formed this society. This is the result of all the things that they did. This is the utopia that they thought that they made. This is the so-called civilized world that they're talking about, yeah? This world where you got adverts that are symbolizing harming little children. Is this the world that we're talking about, yeah? Is this the civilized world that we're talking about? Is this the people that we shouldn't have walk out of the world because the society would just crumble? Are these the people we're talking about? Are these the people? Verse 28. For they are a nation void of counsel, neither is there any understanding in them. Oh, that they were wise, that they should understand this, that they would consider the latter end. And this is the latter end right now, man. That you touch the Israelites, you put them in captivity, and now Yahweh is going to crumble your societies, man. Because you thought you was going to build and return and rebuild the desolate places. Yahweh had other plans. Malachi chapter 1 and verse 3. In fact, verse 2. I have loved you, saith Yahweh, yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith Yahweh, yet I loved Jacob, and I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness? Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, which that's how they're talking, man. That's how this guy was talking. Oh, they just hate us. They'd say, oh, this, so maybe we should walk out then and see how they like that. People would love it. And you Edomites would never walk out for all these time frames that you're talking about, because you're scared that people would realize that they don't need you. And for this guy that made this statement and tried to stir these Edomites up to say all this, right? He does things on war, and he's even said his own self that that all these other countries are starting to, in fact, the Indians, let's use them, that they're starting to realize that their economy is better without America being involved in their things like that, right? And that's how everyone would be if if Esau was to just bounce. They'd realize that the world's not as wicked, man. If people could trade in technology, as which Edomites didn't make all the technology, man. But if people could trade in all that technology for a world that's not wicked, people would trade it in. People would trade it in, man. If people trade in a society where they ain't being forced by lawyers to pay some crazy ass child support money, Even in time where the children ain't theirs, they'd do it, man. Where they didn't have GMO foods, they'd do it. They'd trade it in, man. So they'll never do a walkout like you're talking. They'd never do it because people would realize that you ain't necessary, man, and that you ain't needed like that. They'd realize that, man, and they're gonna realize it anyway when Yahushua, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, he's gonna show the world that they don't need Esau, man. They're gonna have the Israelites. The Israelites are gonna run the world, man. The least likely people are gonna rule. Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4, whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom Yahweh have indignation forever. So ultimately they're going to fall, man. All the plans of what they're talking. And really, a lot of this talk is coming back because of that Trump juice return, man. That Trump juice is getting an upgrade again, man. People are getting high off that Trump juice again, and let them do it, man. Let them do it, man. Let them come with all the things they're going to come with because the Lord's got something for them, man. So let them get gassed up from that renaissance of Trump juice. Yeah, let them get gassed up, man. Let them get it. Let them think that the world couldn't handle being without them. Let's see. This is Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob, and the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of Yahweh for servants and handmaids, and they shall take them captives whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. So whether they think that they're going to not work or whatever, they're going to work, man, right? And the people that was made to work and that was their labors was considered as nothing, they're not going to be working anymore, man. You're going to be doing the working. Since you thought you was doing the working all the time and you thought that a job was so great, well, the scriptures say that you're going to be given never-ending employment, pretty much. Continual employment. You're going to have a continual employment, man. Since you had that job spirit on you all the time where you just cared about having a job, you're going to have a job, but you're not going to be having no wages for these jobs. The nerve of you Edomites to talk this way, man, and to think that you're that necessary when you're trying to make a world where you're saying that people have nothing and be happy. The WEF, right? The GTR, right? I believe that's the abbreviation. TGR, the WEF, TGR, right? These abbreviations for these companies and all these organizations, they're making a world to try and make people own nothing. So shouldn't people be complaining about that? And who's the one running these things? Who's running it? Because if it was some dark-skinned people running it, people would be quick to mention that. But because it's you people running it, you ain't got nothing to say on that. You try and make a separation. Oh, that's the elite version though. That's the elites. Nah, it's you with money. And that's what you would be doing if you had money too. And if they took you to the side and said, you know what, you want to be in on this, bro. You would be in on it too. And be doing the same things that they're doing, man. And that's why every single generation that's came up from your nation has always did the same thing and has been making the world worse and more oppressive rather than less. To the point where you're trying to perfect the oppression by making a charagma that you plan on putting inside people to where you can just switch the access off to the world, man. Because you know you can't try and come at it that other way no more because people ain't going for it like that. So you've tried to do it another way. An even more cunning version for you cunning hunters of Edom. Verse 3, and it shall come to pass that Yahweh shall, and it shall come to pass in a day that Yahweh shall give thee rest from thy sorrow, and from thy fear, and from thy hard bondage wherein thou was made to serve. So these people can tell us that we ain't experiencing no captivity all they want, man. They can tell us that all they want. We can feel it, man. And we ain't going to let you people gaslight us to think that we ain't seeing what we're seeing, man. We ain't going to let you people gaslight us anymore and tell us that our skin's black when we can clearly see that it's brown. And we ain't going to let you gaslight us and tell us that the things that we've read in the Bible and the curses that we see in there don't apply to us when we can see them. But now they're starting to happen to you, and now you're trying to complain when you still have all the same power and all the same access to the things that you've got to have. You ain't really even experienced nothing yet, man. You ain't experienced nothing. You haven't had a crime committed against you and not had the power to be able to defend yourself. That's coming in the future, though. When you're gonna have things that are done to you as a nation that you feel are unjust, and you're not gonna have the power within your hands to do anything about it, man. And you're just gonna have to take it. You're just gonna have to drink that cup, just like how we did. You're gonna see things taking place, and you're not gonna have no power or no might to do anything about it, man. And that's why you're stirring up yourself right now, because you're planning to try and get carnal, man. But when you get carnal, we're going to get spiritual. Verse 4, thou shalt take up this proverb against the king of Babylon and say, how have the oppressors ceased? The golden city ceased? And that's what's getting ready to take place, man. People are getting ready to mock you, people, man, and really see you for what you are, nothing. So do a walkout. If you think that that's going to do anything, do it, man. Do it. And you'll realize that actually there's loads of other people that do the same things as you. So do it. As if you're the only nation in the world, man. Do it, man. If you think that that's going to do something, do it. Go ahead, man. But the man that said it, he ain't even one of y'all. And he's giving you ideas, which just shows that you Edomites ain't inventive anyway. That you had to have an Israelite come up with an idea to try and make you guys feel wanted in the earth, man. You demons. Verse 5. Yahweh have broken the staff of the wicked and the scepter of the rulers. He who smote the people in wrath with a continual stroke, he that ruled the nations in anger, is persecuted and none hindereth. So he wouldn't care, man, if you just walked out like that. Wouldn't care. You'll care, because you'll feel like, man, now they're really going to realize that I'm not needed. Which, let me get a scripture on that, man. Y'all talking like y'all just the stuff out here, man, and you ain't. Talking like you're just so needed, as if there was just no one that ever existed before you, as if no one ever did anything apart from you guys, as if you ain't killing your own people, and as if the person that made this statement doesn't like look at the war that's happening between Ukraine and Russia and see how you're wicked toward each other. You're wicked toward each other. Americans and Russians are the same people, but they're evil toward each other. All of NATO's nations, are they not the same people? Are they not the same people going against their own brothers who are of another tribe or whatever, or in another place of the world from them? They're wicked toward each other. So how much more are they going to be doing to the people that are not their people, man? If they really wasn't wicked, they'd just say, you know what, let us just chill, because we own the world already. So let's just relax. But Yahweh, like I said, Yahweh is the one prompting them to do this, because he's going to use themselves to destroy themselves. And then we're going to add fuel to the fire on that. Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 30. The poor man is honored for his skill, and the rich man is honored for his riches. And what they want to be honored for, these Edomites, they want to be honored for their skill, right? But people ain't honoring them for their skill, man. They're honoring them because they got money. That's why. Because nobody really likes the way how these Edomites got their money. But they're like, well, it made them rich, though. So that's what you're getting your honor for. You're not getting your honor because you're likable people and because you have talent like that, because you don't. Because all the things that you make money from just came off the backs of other people, of other nations, man. Whether you want to admit it or not. Whether you want to admit it or not, man. Verse 31. He that is honored in poverty, how much more in riches? And he that is dishonorable in riches, how much more in poverty? So when you Edomites lose all this wealth that you've built up from stealing, from killing people with a sword, from robbing, from theft, from deceit, you're going to find out, man, that you was never liked like that. And let me get this scripture, in fact, Sirach chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So the reason why your kingdom's falling is because you got your riches through unrighteous dealings, through injuries. You injured everybody. You harmed people to get this, man. And riches got by deceit. You stole, you lied, you captured people, you stole a whole country, right? You stole a whole country, man. You want to talk about anybody stealing anything? You stole a whole country, man. Let's not play games. You stole a whole country and you stole a whole group of people. And you can talk about this person sold this person into that or whatever. If somebody sells me a car and I end up running that car into a building, no one's going to be able to say, no, I'm not going to be able to say, but he sold me the car. They're going to be like, well, why did you run it into that building? So you were sold, and you can say whatever you want to say. Let's say it was the same people, which it wasn't, because the Hamites and the Israelites are not the same. They got the same skin tone, and that's where it ends. But let's say it was the same people. That wouldn't excuse you for what you did. That wouldn't excuse you for everything that you did to these people. But you think it would, man. And the nerve of them to try and really think that the world's going to miss them like that, man. The world ain't going to miss y'all, man. And there's so many scriptures that I can think of right now, and I'm going to read some of them. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 10. For violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Right? The reason why y'all are getting all hurt in the spirit right now is because people are pointing out the wickedness that you've did, and you're feeling shame for it, man. You can say all that it wasn't this, it wasn't that. But all the people that say this about us, about it was this many generations ago and all that, how comes you never say that about them people in the land of Israel? How comes you never got the same courage to say that to them, that they should get over it, when what they went through was less than what the Israelites went through, the real ones? How comes you ain't got nothing to say about them regarding this? How comes you ain't got the same mouth and the same thought process to them? Because you're cowards, that's why. Because you're cowards, man. And let's read this, verse 11. In the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou was one of them. So that you got to pay for. But thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in their destruction. And they rejoiced back then, and they also rejoiced during the time of the Atlantic slave trade, and they still rejoice now. And they still say, it wasn't you, get over it. Yeah, we know it was your ancestors, but it wasn't you, get over it. You know how much nerve you have to say something stupid like that? That we shouldn't be bothered, that our ancestors was killed and had all these harsh, horrific things happen to them. We should just get over it when we're still feeling the same effects of those things. And these people don't understand reincarnation. Neither would they want to understand reincarnation as being a real thing, because if reincarnation exists, then that was them that did that. And that was us that experienced it. So of course, Edomites that are wicked, of course, wicked people that are evil, that have been oppressors on the earth, of course they don't want to believe in reincarnation, because that means that they have to pay for the things that they did, man. Of course they're not going to want to believe in reincarnation. Of course they'd rather believe that if reincarnation did exist, that you come back as a rat or something. Of course they're going to want to say that, because they don't want to have to pay. But we didn't want to have to pay for our sins against Yahweh, yet we paid though. And are still paying. Verse 12 again, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. And it's still speaking proudly now if you say that we should get over it, when we haven't received justice for that. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid their hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. And they're in our land right now. And people can say in our land all they want. They're in our land, man. They're over there. So that's why they're going to have to be judged too. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those that did remain in the day of distress. And that's what they was doing back then in those ancient times. But they're also still wicked now. For the day of Yahweh is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thy own head. So it doesn't really matter whether you don't think that you should have people speaking about you, because there's going to be worse things than speaking when Yahweh Shai shows up. And that's the thing that you people don't want to happen, man. Because you can handle us on earth, but you can't handle Yahweh Shai, who we speak of. You can't handle him. And all those things that you see in the sky, where you see these UFOs, these things that you can't explain in the heavens with your big building-sized telescopes, right? All these things you see, those are signs that Yahweh Shai is hearing the prayers that we make to our Father Yahweh, who is going to send Yahweh Shai back to deliver us from the hands of you people, man. All those things that you see are signs of this stuff taking place, man. All the things that are unspoken, that are classified files, that you know that exist out there, that the everyday civilian don't know about, all those things that you see are things that we're speaking about, that are from the heavenly realm being sent to warn you people that you messed up when you put your hands on us, man. And this is what's going to be the end result of all the stuff that you did, that you're talking about how a walkout and the world would be, nobody's just going to handle anything. We're going to see. Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for Yahweh have spoken it. So for all the talk that you've said about how you're going to walk out, it's not the walkout and you not being around anymore isn't going to be a thing by where it's going to be of your own choice that you do it. Or I volunteer to say, I'm not going to be around anymore. No, Yahweh is going to make you be gone. Yahweh said that you're going to be gone. And let's see if the world is going to be worse or better off for that. Let me jump down to verse 21. And Shavuot shall come upon Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be Yahweh's. So the kingdom ain't going to belong to you no more. And let's see if when that time comes, if people are going to be wondering about what Esau's doing anymore. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 2. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of Yahweh's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And who's Yahweh's house? Is it not the Israelites? The real ones? It's not these people that are pretending to be it, but they're not making this come to pass. They ain't trying to push the words of the Lord, the laws of the Lord across the whole earth. They ain't doing that. They're pushing financial-based things across the earth. That's the kind of things that they want to push. They're pushing HIJKLMNP out on the earth, alphabeting and rainbowing. That's what they're wanting to push on the earth. They ain't trying to push God's laws on it. They're pushing the complete opposite. Verse 3, and many people shall go and say, come ye and let us go up to the mountain of Yahweh, to the house of the power of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. So people ain't going to miss y'all, man. You're not going to be missed when you're gone. And if you want to try and test the waters and see, we're going to do a day's walkout, do it then. And let's see, man. Let's see if people cry because of that. Or would people end up realizing, man, y'all should have took 2 days. In fact, y'all should have took 3 days. In fact, you know what? Take a week. In fact, you know what? Take a fortnight. In fact, take a month. In fact, take a year. In fact, you know what? Obadiah was right. How about that? And he will teach us of his ways, and will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law and the word of Yahweh from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. And is that what's happening now? Or is the same guy that said that these Edomites should walk out, does he speak about war that they're doing? So you can't at one side say, man, it's crazy, these wars that they're doing, you know. But then at the other side, complain about why people have got a problem with these people when you can see problems in them yourself. Yeah, it's stupid. You've got a channel that sees problems in these people that you so desperately want to be a part of. And maybe you are, which is why you're talking like this. But you've got a channel that speaks about these kind of people and the problems that they're doing. But then you've got a you've got a question mark as to why people have got a problem with them? When you've seen problems in them yourself? What are you talking about, man? You had a demon on you when you made that video, man. You had Satan on you. Satan entered your mind and made you spew out madness. Made you sound like a real idiot, man. For a guy that's somewhat intelligent when it comes to earthly things. You know? But them spiritual things, you don't have the hang of. Which is why you spewed out that stuff out your mouth. That was madness, man. That was madness. And I'm going to end the lesson there, man. I think I've made the point that when Yahweh's done with his world, people are going to completely realize that they never needed Esau, right? They're going to realize completely. And in fact, let me finish with one more scripture. I just thought of one more. Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 16. They that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee, saying, is this the man that made the earth to tremble, that did shake kingdoms? Because the falling of this kingdom is coming, man. And it's going to come at a rapid rate. And all the things that this guy that I'm mentioning that said this statement, this Gonzalo Lira, all the things that he mentions on his channel, speaking about war, those wars that you are scared of happening are going to happen. And that's going to cause for the Messiah that the Bible speaks of, Yahushua, to come back and return to the earth. That person that people think's fictional, they're going to realize that he's not fictional. They're going to realize that in very deed, he exists. They're going to realize that it wasn't a game, the scriptures, that it wasn't fiction, that it was true. And all the scoffing is going to turn into crying, man. Verse 17, that made the world as a wilderness and destroyed the cities thereof, that opened not the house of the prisoners. All the kings of the nations, even all of them, lie in glory, every one in his own house. But thou art cast out of thy grave like an abominable branch, and as the raiment of those that are slain, thrust through with the sword, that goeth down to the stones of the pit, as a carcass trodden under feet. So that's what's getting ready to happen, man. You ain't gonna, when every other nation is in a peaceful state, because all these other nations that harm the Israelites are gonna have to pay too. But after their punishment's over, they're gonna get a chance to just dwell as their nation. But the Edomites are not getting that privilege. They're not gonna get that. Verse 20, thou shalt not be joined with them in burial, because thou hast destroyed thy land and slain thy people. The seed of evildoers shall never be renowned. So you ain't gonna get the chance to repent like that. There's no place of repentance for you, because the things that you've done and the things that you're getting ready to do are gonna be so disgusting, right? That there's no place of repentance, man, because this is the way, this is the path that Yahweh pushed you, because Yahweh had a purpose for you, and it was to be wicked. It wasn't to be good. It was to be evil and be despised, not to be righteous and be loved. And there's so many more scriptures, man, that I can think of right now, but I think I made the point, man. And if it's necessary for me to make another lesson on this, I'll do it, man, because it's disgusting for the pride of this nation that thinks that they are the saviors of the world, man, when they're harming the world. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of the nation of Israel. Shalom.